Hi guys! So recently Jade Unjaded posted a video of 5 practical tips to being less shy and more outgoing. And it was some pretty solid advice. I'm sure a lot of people got a lot out of it, and this video is absolutely no shade to Jade. Oh, that rhymes. But as someone who has social anxiety, I knew that a lot of her advice would really work for me, and it kind of got me thinking about what kind of things do help for me as a socially anxious person, because I've had social anxiety since I was quite young, and I've been learning to manage it quite well these past few years. So I feel like I may be qualified to give a little advice, maybe help some of you out. We'll see. So let me dive into my Black Cat book of advice. 5 tips for coping with social anxiety. Number 1, put yourself out there. So this is one that probably all of you have heard. This is kind of the most obvious one. If you want to feel more comfortable in social situations, you just have to get out of your comfort zone, face your fears, and get into social situations more often. Start saying yes to more things, even if it terrifies you, even if you think you probably won't be able to speak to anyone there. Just go anyway. Just go and be silent, and maybe you'll hear something fun, you know? For years, my social anxiety kind of stopped me from going out at all, even with my close friends. Things only really started to change once I really started pushing myself to go out more often. 2, also know when to get back in to your comfort zone. Everybody has limits, and pushing them too far doesn't always do you a whole lot of good. The more you kind of go out into social situations, the more you start to kind of realize what kind of situations are maybe healthy and helpful to you and which ones aren't. And then you learn to kind of avoid the ones that aren't. And for me, something that was really hard to learn was how to leave the situation. If I was hanging out with some people and I was getting kind of bored, I was anxious, I didn't want to be there, then the thought of leaving, thought of getting up and being okay, bye guys, made me feel even more anxious. So I would just stay there for hours and hours and hours, and that's why I was always the last person to leave any social situation. But it wasn't really doing me a whole lot of good. I was just wasting a lot of time. I was getting really drained of energy. So that's another really scary thing I've had to kind of learn recently, is just getting up and saying, hey guys, I kind of have to go now, but it was really nice seeing you, bye. And just not wasting your time and energy, because when you're a socially anxious person, then social situations can be really, really draining. So learn to conserve that energy and only use it when it's really useful. When you're first starting out, then it's good to kind of say yes to a lot of different things, and then you kind of learn what things you what things make you feel worse, what makes you feel better, and then you're kind of able to be more choosy. And in the long run, that can also really help you kind of cope with your anxiety and create social connections that really serve you, you know? 3, scripting can be helpful. This is one thing that I especially could relate to in Jade's video, because she pointed out that overthinking and constantly scripting what you're going to say can really distract you from listening to the person you're talking to, and that it's better to just kind of let it flow naturally and not think so much about it. Definitely agree with the importance of also listening to who you're talking to. But I know that for me, if I didn't think of anything in advance to say once the other person stops talking, I would just not be able to say anything. I know that I need to come up with something, because my brain is when I'm in a social situation, If there's another person talking, then for my brain, that's like a chance to take a break, to kind of like recuperate from a situation where maybe I had to talk. And then I'm able to kind of use my energy to also prepare what I'm going to say next. Because then as soon as the other person stops talking, my brain goes into crisis mode, and my brain just literally goes blank. I can't really do anything about it. Like, I guess with practice it'll hopefully get better, but I can't. If I just stop scripting in that way, then I will never be able to take part in any conversations with new people, because my brain just won't come up with anything to say. Like, I mean that in the most literal sense. I can't improvise. I can't let it just flow naturally, because that's just not how my brain works, because I have like a mental illness. So yeah, don't feel bad for scripting, but also you do need to find that balance between, you do need to actually listen to what the other person is saying as well. Like, it's really difficult. Like, if you're listening to someone speak, then maybe like take a kind of mental note of, I don't know, things that were noteworthy, things that maybe you can come back to, things that you can ask extra questions about, and then like try to keep them in your mind kind of while you're still listening to them speak. And then like formulate a response once it's your turn to speak. Filler words are also your friend here, you know, so you can give yourself a moment to gather yourself. And scripting is obviously also really useful in like actual like less social events, like if you're making a phone call to a doctor or something, then like write down what you need to say. Like, that makes it so much easier if you're someone who's really nervous about phone calls like I am. Number 4, learn to be by yourself. I think this is really important because it's normal that you're gonna like have periods where you just are not able to really muster the energy to like hang out with people, to like ask people if they want to do stuff with you, things like that. But you shouldn't let that stop you from doing things anyway. Like, maybe there's a movie you really want to see, but you just don't really have the energy to find someone to go with you, then go alone. Or you want to go to a new cafe or something. It's fine. Like, going to places alone can be really scary at first because it's something that isn't really normalized, or I don't know. It's like, people sometimes think it's kind of weird. And like, being alone can be kind of nerve-wracking by itself as well, especially if you're not used to it, because you have to like deal with the, I don't know, customer service representatives and whoever else happens to come near you on your own. For me personally, like, getting used to doing things alone has really improved my life. Like, I just go on like long walks alone in the park, or I take myself out on a coffee date or whatever, and it just makes my day better. And I don't always have to spend a lot of extra energy socializing when I'm just really not feeling it. So socializing is important, but also just enjoying yourself and not always being under pressure to socialize is important as well. And lastly, a point that I definitely do agree with Jade on is that silence doesn't have to be awkward. Like most people with social anxiety, I used to find awkward silences like really anxiety-inducing, and it would be kind of something that made me even more anxious of social situations, because when you have social anxiety, the occasional awkward silence probably is going to crop up. Like, if you're like me and you're just not good at coming up with things to say, then there are going to be silences. And if you're like constantly terrified of these silences happening, and every time these silences are happening, you're like feeling like really anxious and like thinking all kinds of bad things about yourself, then that's just gonna make socializing so much more difficult. So for me, something that kind of helped was reframing awkward silences in my head. Like, instead of thinking, oh god, this is an awkward silence, oh, this is so terrible and bad, my thought process is more like, huh, they probably think this silence is awkward, huh? That's funny. Like, I literally kind of make it a joke in my head. Haha, awkward silence again. And that has kind of generally helped for me. I don't take awkward silences as seriously anymore, and like gradually it becomes more normal as well. Like, it's okay to just be quiet occasionally, you know? And it's normal to have lulls in the conversation. That happens with everybody. And I mean, silence can also just be a nice chance to kind of take a break, let your brain regain some energy, and then you can restart the conversation later with like new ideas or something, you know? So yeah, those are some of my thoughts and experiences on social anxiety. Maybe some of them helped you. I hope so. Let me know if you have any cool practical tips that have been really helpful for you with social anxiety, because I'm always open to hearing new stuff. And I'm sure we all are. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!